Hansel and Gretel. Hansel and Gretel lived with their father, a poor woodcutter, and their cruel stepmother on the outskirts of a great forest. They seldom had enough to live on, and one year, when there was a famine in the land, they had scarcely any bread in the house. Scene 1. One night, when she thought the children were asleep, the cruel stepmother said, "There is not enough food to go around. Tomorrow let us take the children to the thickest part of the forest, and leave them there, and they will not be able to find their way home, and we shall be rid of them." At first the father would not hear of it. "How could I leave my poor children to be torn to pieces by wild beasts?" he cried. "Then we shall all die of hunger," declared the stepmother, and she gave him no peace until he consented. Now the children had not been sleeping, and they heard every word that was said. Gretel wept bitterly, but Hansel comforted her. "Never mind, little sister," he said. "I have thought of a way to guide us home again." Scene 2. Next morning, when they started for the forest, the stepmother gave them each a piece of bread. "Don't eat it before lunch," she said. "It is all you will get." As they entered the woods, the children lagged behind, and Hansel, crumbling his bit of bread, secretly dropped a piece every few steps, hoping to mark the trail by which they could find their way back. The parents led them deep into the forest and left them, saying, "Stay here, and we will return for you." Scene 3. Hansel and Gretel did as they were bid, hoping their parents had changed their minds and would come for them. But when evening drew near and they tried to find their way home, they found that the birds of the forest had eaten every breadcrumb. All night they stumbled through the woods, the eyes of wild beasts staring at them out of the darkness, and became more lost with every step. Scene 4. By morning, almost dead with fright and hunger, the children followed a white bird, which fluttered before them and seemed to urge them onward, until it led them to a little house made of gingerbread and candy and other good things to eat. Scene 5. The famished children rushed to the strange little house, but before they could nibble even a little bit, they were caught by the witch. Her house was built as a lure for children, and when they came into her power she killed, cooked, and ate them. As Hansel was too thin, the witch put him in a cage, where the best of the food was brought to fatten him up. Gretel was forced to do all the hard work, and was only given crab shells to eat. Scene 6. One day the witch decided that Hansel was ready to be cooked, and she made Gretel fetch water in a great kettle and light the fire. "First," said the witch, "we will bake. I have already lighted the oven. You, Gretel, crawl in and see if it is properly heated, so we can shove in the bread." The witch planned to close the oven door when Gretel crawled in, that she might be baked and eaten too. But Gretel pretended to be too stupid to understand. "I do not know how to do it. How do I get in?" she asked. "Silly," said the witch. "Look, I will show you how." And she stuck her head in the oven. Quickly, Gretel pushed her in and closed the oven door. She released Hansel from his cage, and having nothing more to fear, the children filled their pockets from the witch's hoard of pearls and precious stones. Scene 7. They fled from the enchanted forest until they came to the shores of a large lake, which seemed impossible to cross until a white duck took pity on them and offered to carry them across, one at a time, on his back. To their joy, on the opposite side of the shore was their father. He had known no happiness while his children were lost, and since the cruel stepmother was dead, he had searched everywhere for them. Dropping the treasures at his feet, the children rushed into their father's arms. Thus their troubles were ended, and they lived happily and in plenty ever after.